Real quick, before we start this podcast episode, I just want to say thank you for tuning into the Marc Colcer podcast. I know you've got a million things that you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're taking time out of your day to watch this podcast episode truly means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you for that. If you'd like to continue to support the podcast, right below this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, and then, hey, if you got some more time and you want to hit the download button, the comment button, the like button, the share button, any of those buttons, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps for other people to find out about the podcast, and it helps for you to be notified about future episodes. So if you guys could take a quick second, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Outside of that, this episode and every other episode is brought to you guys by Roast Umber Coffee. As some of you guys know, I co-founded Roast Umber Coffee, and we have the greatest farmers in Guatemala and Honduras and the greatest roaster in Grand Rapids, Michigan, all to bring you guys the greatest cup of coffee possible. So if you'd like to try it out, go to our website, use the coupon code MARC30, and you're going to get 30% off your coffee. Now on to the episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Welcome to the Marc Colcer podcast. All right, boys. Well, hey, welcome to the Marc Colcer podcast. So I'll explain kind of the setup of what we're doing today. This podcast episode is going to be a little bit different from what we typically do. Typically, we have one project founder who's on here with me. This time, we've got three people, actually. So we've got Justin, we've got Andy, and we've got Brian, who's off screen, but he'll be coming on shortly here. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking all about Oogie. You guys are going to be given, each of you kind of has different sectors of Oogie that you're going to be talking about. And so we're going to be kind of rotating through, and it's going to be a very interactive podcast episode. And then at the end, we are doing potentially the worst idea I've ever heard. This is awful. So I know a lot of people have probably seen the Hot Ones Challenge before on YouTube, which is basically where they interview celebrities, and while they're interviewing celebrities, they're eating really, really hot chicken wings. And so you guys went ahead, you guys bought the sauce from Hot Ones directly, and we decided to change it up, not do chicken wings, and we are doing
Swedish fish.
Which is potentially the worst idea I've ever heard. But we're going to do it. And I have no idea how I'm going to react. I don't handle spice well at all. Like, I'm the type of guy, like, if I go somewhere, I'm getting, like, mild. So I don't even get, like, medium salsa. I get mild. So this is going to be a struggle for me. We may see the Marc Colcer podcast may end today.
This is the last episode.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. So
we might end up hosting the end of this podcast when Marc is running off.
I'm just passed the fuck out over in the corner. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna have some fun on this episode. And so to start it off, can you guys each introduce yourself? I can't even talk. To start it off, can you each introduce yourself? Justin, can you start off with yourself?
Yeah. First of all, on behalf of the entire Oogie team, it's an honor to be here. I'm Justin. Before NFTs, I worked as a product design engineer. What that means is basically a project manager, except super technical. So usually you manage a team of mechanical engineers, electrical, software, etc. I've worked on a lot of the weapons you see in Call of Duty, such as Stinger, Javelin, and recently radar programs that prevent nuclear threats. Outside of Web3, I love touching grass, so definitely taking advantage of the SoCal weather. I love to surf, snowboard, hike, and all that fun stuff.
So while you were doing all that intricate shit, now you've gone from that to eating Swedish fish with incredibly hot sauce on it. So, wow, your parents should be so proud.
So proud, and I quit my job too, so
there we go.
They're stoked for me.
We love unemployed people, so I'm one of them. So,
go.
With that, let's throw it to Andy.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Marc, for having us on. I'm Andy from San Diego. Before I got in and started working with Justin on Oogie, I was a tech consultant for 6 years, and I was also the founder of a stock trading application. Led a dev team for 3 years for that build. And outside of obviously being a Solana degen, pretty much surfing, a lot of pickleball, and snowboarding. So just love being outdoors. Pretty much our entire team is that way. But yeah, all based out of San Diego.
There we go. We're going to have to play some pickleball soon. I started playing with my parents during Thanksgiving, and then we played again a bunch over Christmas, and I've started to love it. So it's a really fun game. I feel like it doesn't get a good rep because the name is dumb. I hate the name. pickleball.
We actually learned yesterday where the name came from. I'll tell you that. Tell you about.
No,
that
I heard
after.
that. I isn't it like the family's dog was named like Pickles or something like that, right?
No, I won't go super into detail, but essentially it came from rowing. The last boat, which is like the party boat that pretty much comes in last, is called the pickle boat. And it's supposed to be like, it was the fun version of tennis for his kids. So he called it pickleball off of the last boat, which is supposed to be like the fun knockoff version.
Well, I heard a completely different, so I'm going to take, you're probably right. So, but with that said, so we're going to get into Oogie here today. So can you guys talk about, I guess, before we actually get into Oogie, can you talk about what brought you each into the NFT space?
Yeah, so the overall crypto space, my dad, oddly enough, actually got me in. He's been super adventurous with his investments, and he started with Bitcoin back in 2014, 2015. So that's where I really got that exposure to that blockchain technology. And, coming from a technical background, it just made complete sense to me. That value add just resonated instantly. And then towards the end of 2021, Andy actually got me into NFTs and Solana. We were super big into fantasy sports, daily fantasy and all that. So it just, the thrill of the mint just became so addicting, and it was super fun.
There we go. There's still nothing better than when you press the mint button and you're looking to see, what do I get? Do I get a mythic? Do I get a one of one? I still haven't gotten a one of one, but I'm waiting for it. My time is coming. Maybe it's going to happen with Oogie. So
could happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
plenty
it.
of them.
There we go. So Andy, how did you get into NFTs?
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't mention the game kids I gave you when you got started. But yeah, I obviously brought Justin and Brian in, which has been a really cool adventure. I was brought in because I've been trading stocks since I was 12, oddly enough. Been obsessed with trading stocks. I was working on a stock trading app before pretty much NFTs really started to speed up. And when Solana NFTs were starting, actually Aurora was minting, which was my first mint. A couple friends of mine who knew I was into trading and kind of that whole side of the market. I had been trading cryptos at the time, but not NFTs. They convinced me to do the Aurora mint, and there was like 10 of them in a group. I'll call up Mantis Trading. He was actually the one who introduced me and had me mint. And I was the only one out of the 10 guys who actually got the Aurora. So for the first day I minted for 2 SOL. I think it ran up to like 40 SOL on day one. So I turned, a couple $100 into a couple grand, and I was like hooked that day. And I think I started minting other projects literally that afternoon. So that's kind of what got me hooked.
Yeah, it's like crack, isn't it? You like literally get a little taste of success with NFTs, and then you're hooked on it. And even when you get a win, like getting a loss, not a win, when you get a loss, you're still like, man, I'm craving that next win. It's one of the reasons why this space is so fun, is because even when you have the super high highs, you also have the super low lows, but you also kind of remind yourself that you're always like one move away from a next like 10x. And I always feel like there's always another 10x. And so you just have to be patient in this space, because there's always like crazy opportunities. If you told me something about Bonk 2 months ago, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? Next thing you know, it becomes something that everybody's chatting about for over a week. So but getting further into things, so what were your thoughts on the overall like NFT space in general, positives, negatives, whatever, when you guys first got into space? And because I'm always kind of curious, like what were your initial thoughts just about your experience, and kind of is there a reason why you thought, I need to create this project or anything like that? So what were your overall thoughts on the space after just participating in it for a little bit? So we'll start off with you, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I spend hours on hours, and our entire team does, in the Solana NFT space on a weekly basis. I think there's a lot of incredible projects building real technology for the future. And pretty much now, after being in, or at the time when we started Oogie, having been in the space for a little over a year, we just kind of realized there's a ton of teams that are really, really successful. But given the kind of the network we had built, we felt like there was an opportunity to kind of leverage that network that we had created to obviously start our own project. But overall, we think it's there's a lot of growing pains that come with NFTs. There's a lot of growing pains that come with, a blockchain like Solana. But overall, again, we're very bullish. Like, this is the future at the end of the day. Less than 1% of America, or the world for that matter, invests in NFTs. So we are so incredibly early. So even with the growing pains, there's definitely ups and downs. But I think at the end of the day, we're so early, and it's a great time to be building.
Yeah, couldn't agree. Justin?
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Justin?
I was super lucky because my first community was actually DGOD. So obviously started with an incredible community. Haven't seen anything like it, since joining Web3, even to this day. And it was just so awesome to be part of something that felt like a movement, being in that Discord when there's a delay and everyone's spamming that, when Frank's typing or you're spamming the emote to tap his head and all that sort of stuff. So just being part of all that. And I think the community is such a cool thing in Web3 where you're connecting with people all over the world. So super cool there.
Yeah. I think why Justin is so focused on perfection with Oogie is because his first project was DeGods. And I kind of bring that up to him all the time, is like he saw how Frank and the team obviously built their community. They were so community focused. People like yourself were very, very early and kind of just like built that community. And they continue to innovate whatever. And it's like Justin, that's his sample, versus a lot of us came from, smaller projects that didn't necessarily do as well. Some don't even exist anymore. So I think kind of the time he came in and the fact that he did get lucky with DeGods has helped a lot, obviously, with the Oogie experience and why he's going to be so successful.
Yeah, I mean, to me, anytime I hear about somebody minting an NFT project, I want them to experience like a really, really good project like DeGods, and then also some of the shitty projects that don't pan out. Because to me, it's important to kind of see both sides of it, see the projects that work out and why do they work out, what are they doing well, how do they take kind of the bad news that comes their way and turn it into a positive. And then for the projects that don't work out as well, why is that? Why did they not pivot? Did they have something in their roadmap that they were like really stuck on, of like, oh, we're going to do this, even though like that idea may not have been it. Maybe it was an idea that just like it was cool at the moment, but then in actuality, it wasn't panning out, or the community wasn't a huge fan of it. So I'm always really curious, I guess, like, once again, what people are kind of studying, what they're learning from the space, because if somebody is going to start up their own project, it makes so much more sense to have that experience of a success, also have that experience of a failure, and learn from both of those. Because to me, this is, goes back to what you were saying a second ago, Andy. We're so early in this, right? So a lot of it is just learning from what we're experiencing, because where we were at a year ago in the NFT space is completely different. Like if you told somebody a year ago as a project founder that you were going to be going on a podcast, people would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? Because nobody was doing that a year ago, right? And so we had like very few YouTube videos and stuff like that. Now you can pretty much type in any project on YouTube. There's content that comes up. There's Twitter Spaces all the time. So content has very much changed. Like what people are expecting from projects has changed. And so it's important to be in the space, learn from the other projects, learn what you think of what they do, and then pay attention to kind of how the market reacts to certain things, and then therefore kind of interpret how people are going to pay attention to the news that you guys come out with and what you guys have coming up with your, roadmap and things like that. So I want to get now into Oogie. So why did you guys decide to start Oogie? What was when did that idea kind of first come to fruition? And how did that all look?
Yeah. So I've known Andy since 2016. We both lived in Seattle for a summer. I used to work for Boeing there. Andy was out there with his girlfriend at the time. And we've always just meshed on a level where we knew we wanted to create something together. Andy at that time during that summer was creating this app called Universe, which was a social media app that was exactly like Facebook, but he would not listen to me. But yeah, I just remember his passion. Like I'd come downstairs to start work in the morning at 4 a.m. because I used to work at the factory there, and he was up all night just like sketching designs before Figma even existed. And I could just really tell that he had that creative passion to really build something. And yeah, so we started with that, and just taking that experience and seeing the space, seeing the lack of transparency from founders, seeing that a lot of people weren't doxxed, seeing that a lot of people wouldn't put themselves out there, and really just, give their all towards a project and their community. And that's the main reason why, we wanted to be the first project to come on this podcast before Mint.
Yeah. No, that was actually something I've wanted to do for a long time, because to me, a lot of times it's like a project mints, and even if their mint goes well, I feel like a lot of times projects wait like a month or two after they're mint before you start really seeing them publicly. And to me, I'm like, dude, I want to get to know you guys. I want to understand, do I really believe in you guys to, am I somebody who wants to just mint my allotment, or do I want to go and buy a bunch on secondary and things like that? So to me, the more I know about a founding team before I mint, the more likely I am to go and buy a ton on secondary, right? But like the worst situation is when you go and you buy something at mint, whatever, and then you actually hear from the founder, a month or two down the road, and you're like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, I want to know that ahead of time, right? So, I got to learn today that you guys are all fucking, no, I'm just kidding. No. You guys are all great guys, but I've enjoyed getting to know you guys before we started up this podcast and things like that. And so I think that's incredibly, incredibly important. And I think a lot of people are going to watch this as they decide, do I want to mint Oogie? And it's a lot of it, do I believe in you guys? Do I believe in your ability to, kind of adapt to how the market goes and the things that happen in the space and things like that? Because I think for everybody, when you start an NFT project, you really have no clue truly what to expect. Like, I think everybody goes into it with an idea of, it's kind of like boxing, right? They always say everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? I think that was like Muhammad Ali's quote or something along those lines. It might be Mike Tyson. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But, the thing is, like, everybody has an idea until you actually mint the project. And then once you mint out everything like that, that's when the real, hard work begins, right? And so to me, a lot of it is like asking myself, do I believe that this founder is going to be able to figure it out, right? And so I love that you guys wanted to come on before you guys minted, and we'll get into like when mint potentially is going to be and everything like that a little later in the podcast. But so I love that. I want to go back into, I guess, so when you guys were first kind of having the conversations about Oogie, I guess, like, what did those conversations look like from your end, Andy? And like, were all of you guys like equally excited to start an NFT project? Or I guess, like, kind of give me some of the behind the scenes on how all of that came to be.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump back kind of what Justin was touching on. The reason we have 3 founders is because, again, I think the battle of starting a new project is very similar to starting a company. Again, there's a lot that goes into it, and I keep using the term battle tested because it's not easy. Again, you're pretty much have 10,000 new investors in your project. And they're knocking on your door every day looking for new innovation, whatever. Since I met Justin, the reason we've always wanted to work together is because we're 2 different sides of the spectrum, and that I consider myself a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. I've always just been coming up with new ideas, building new products, apps. Justin will tell you one thing or another, whether they were good, some weren't so good. But Justin's kind of on the other side. Justin's great at running a team. Justin's great at questioning things. He's very detail oriented. He's a perfectionist, as is Brian. And then Brian's big piece is Brian is a tokenomics expert. That's why he does it for a living. So the reason we have 3 co-founders, which is a bit unique, is just because we're all kind of good at something different, and us 3 in a room together can really conquer or create anything. So that's kind of, again, why we started as 3 of us.
There we go. So did you guys, and what was all of your relation before that? I know you guys met in Seattle. How did you guys meet Brian?
Yeah, Brian actually went to school with me, University of South Carolina, and we met through some mutual friends. We actually snowboarded and skied together for the first time. And then Brian, honestly, we used to chat about when he was early into the NFT space. We used to chat at dinner for hours and drive his wife crazy. So eventually, again, he started talking about the more tokenomics side of the business, and that's definitely where Justin and I needed a little more support, understanding. We were more focused on the art, the utility, and Brian added a ton of value from a tokenomics side. So yeah, again, that's just really the relationship flourished from there, and that's when we brought him in, and he's been on board now for almost a year.
There we go. Well, with that said, why don't we bring Brian in? So Andy, if you want to step out for a second, we'll bring Brian in here. And this is how we do things. We're adapting. Look at us. There we go. Brian, welcome.
Here we go.
How do you feel?
I feel great. I'm
There
good.
we go. Move the mic a little bit more over this way. Just swing it in a little bit closer to you. There we go. Perfect. All right. So Brian, give me a little bit of your background before we get started here.
Yeah. So Brian from San Diego, 27 years old. I started my career in traditional finance, working for a asset manager, managed about $350 billion. Had a really great career there for about 5 years. Started to dive down the rabbit hole of DeFi and crypto in general. Very quickly became obsessed with it and decided that I wanted to look for a new role. Loved the idea of remote working. Loved the idea of working in Web3 for a startup. Ended up applying to a company called Horizon Labs, which people may not be familiar with, but they're the ones who worked with Oogie on the ApeCoin launch, Other Side Deeds. They do a lot of consulting for Web2 companies. And so I've really enjoyed my time there. Started there last May. And like I said, I work in Web3 full time now. So my value add is really seeing the full spectrum of everything and looking at tokens every day, understanding the mechanisms, who trades it, how hedge funds interact with NFTs and crypto in general. So that's kind of my background.
There we go. There we go. And so when these guys started talking to you about the idea of coming up with an NFT project and Oogie, what was that like from your end?
Yeah. So as much as I love traditional finance and putting real value on things, I became quickly enveloped in the idea of buying NFTs, and I loved like Pokemon cards and stuff as a kid, and so it was very natural for me to like get hooked on NFTs. And Andy brought me into the space, and it quickly connected with Justin, and it just became natural to want to be a part of it. And then I think the puzzle pieces fit together really well. The fact that I had a finance background, I could help with all of the budgeting aspects of things. I could help with, looking at other Web3 projects and understanding the entire ecosystem. And so it was really great for me to, and I'd never done anything entrepreneurial in my life at all. And so it was really cool to like have a creative aspect to my life and dive deep into that.
There we go. There we go. So, okay. So I want to get a little bit more further into Oogie, especially on the art aspect of things, and then also into the utility aspects of things. So typically when you have an NFT project, I would kind of categorize most of them as like, this project is more utility focused, this one's more art focused. So what would you guys say Oogie is? Are you guys more art focused, more utility focused, or kind of a mix of the two? Justin?
Yeah. So at Oogie, we feel that those two are not mutually exclusive. Usually in the NFT space, there's a big misconception on what utility is. And to us, utility is the EV at any given moment of holding an NFT is greater than the EV of selling that NFT. Whether that is, you're hyped for the next art launch, you're hyped for the community and you're proud to be a part of it. Whether it's, bullish announcements coming out. So that's the thread that we're really trying to pull with Oogie. And Brian, I know you had more to say on that.
Yeah, I can definitely add a little more in. Like I said, coming from a traditional finance background, I always look to like put a value on something. And so in the NFT space, like the greatest value driver is community. And so how do you value community? And like community can be the greatest utility that your NFT project provides. You could go out and say, I'm going to give you 3 free hotel rooms a year if you buy my NFT. But at the end of the day, like, is that going to drive value to your project or whatever? It's like, it's hard to like place the idea of utility in this little box. There's a very specific gray, there's a very wide gray area of like what utility is. And so for us, like our goal is like threefold, really, like, or there's 3 parts to a project. That there's art, there's community, and there's utility. And if you don't have good art and good community, then your utility won't matter. And so for us, like why we haven't publicly released a roadmap yet, it is not because we don't have one. It's because we want to build an extremely strong community and have really good art, because like your art is somebody's first impression to your project. Because if you don't nail those down like to perfection, like your utility is going to be useless.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. I think, even I look at, all of them, I look at all those different factors as like they should be readily changing too. So even when I think about art, like I look at the art of an NFT project and I'm like, hey, if the art stays looking exactly the same way, like 2 months from now, or 3 months from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now, eventually I'm going to get bored with it, right? Because it's like with anything in life, almost like you can even take like your own like style, for example, right? Nobody wears the same, I don't think, most people don't wear the same clothes for like 5 years, right? Eventually you kind of grow out of that style. You want something new, right? So I always kind of go with it of like, I think the art should change over time. I think that's important. From the utility perspective, same thing. I think the utility should change over time, right? Like when you think about an iPhone now versus 5 years ago, the utility has changed, right? The utility has grown with how society has moved and things like that, right? Now I can control the humidity of my bedroom from my phone, right? That's crazy when you think about where iPhones were 5-6 years from now, or 6 years ago, right? And then where it's going to be 5 years from now, right? So the fact that you can do like an EKG from an Apple Watch, right? So utility is constantly changing. And to me, I look at it as the same thing with an NFT project is like, the utility should be changing, the art should be changing, and then the one thing that should stay strong throughout that is the community, right? But the community is going to develop over time, and a lot of that's going to come from the direction of the founders, right? If the founders are fun people to be around, if they're super, connected with the community, if they're constantly talking with holders and things like that, those are the projects that are going to develop a really, really strong community. So I want to hear from you guys. How do you guys kind of, and we'll talk more about community a little bit further into the podcast, but what are your initial thoughts on like the communities that you guys have been a part of? Why have you loved them? And for projects that you haven't been as big a fan of the community that's developed there, why not, without mentioning those specific projects? But yeah, I want to hear your own takes on communities from the projects that you've been a part of.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said earlier in the podcast, D-Gods was the first community that I've been a part of. But since then, I've been, parts of several communities throughout Solana, Soul Army, OK Bears, Blocksmith Labs, and really like the one thing, and that what I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, when the founders and the team is transparent, when they listen to feedback, when they're active with spaces, when they're holding town halls, that is so bullish to me because it shows they care about my opinions as a holder. And yeah, that's what I really value, that communication and that feedback loop being fulfilled by the team.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Brian?
Yeah, and I'll maybe add on to that. I think like your community is a reflection of like your holders or your founders' values. So like we can't go out and say we want our community to be exactly like this. Like it's going to naturally form, but we can have values that we want to permeate throughout our community. So like, and that's like the best way to do it because you want it to be organic. You want them to find their own identity. Like every great project has their own identity of like how they like how their whole community interacts with each other. And so for us, we just want our holders to emphasize with our art, empathize with our goals and ambitions, and then they like form that identity for themselves that we can then support and continue to listen to as we generate value for them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, okay, so now I want to talk. So, Brian, your background is more into finance, right? So I want to talk about finance because we're in a very different position with the NFT market than we were a year ago, where basically every project at that point, if you minted, you raised millions of dollars, right? Now with things, we need to be a little bit more lean. We need to have an actual, game plan for how we're going to have a runway for over a year and things like that, especially with the macro climate of just the whole entire world basically and the economy everywhere. And so with that, can you talk a little bit more about how you guys are planning to allocate mint funds and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, we always want to be the most transparent project possible. So it's important for us to be able to communicate this to our potential holders. The way that we think about things is not in a vacuum. So obviously we do live in a very different world. As far as mint fund goes, it's a pretty simple breakdown. We have about 45% going towards R&D, 35% to operational needs, and then about 20% going towards marketing expenses. We can break that down further, but R&D is stuff like paying for devs, paying for and operational costs are things like paying for our community manager, paying for the artwork that we're producing, being able to pay for all the different SaaS platforms that we use, whether it's like Canva Pro, Adobe, all of those things. And legal and structuring costs, like we want to be a legitimate company. So, forming an LLC, et cetera. The way that I model things out is through, a series of scenario analysis. And basically, to put it pretty simple, our goal is to have, our entire large team that we've been working with for a year to be able to run smoothly for an entire year in a zero royalty environment. And obviously the different scenarios come into play of like, oh, if we, mint out 100% of our project that we, at the price that we want to, that's going to look great and could be like in our own personal models, like 3 years of runway versus down to the fact where we know we can run for at least a year, execute on our roadmap and be able to deliver value so that hopefully that runway continues. And like I said, that's in a zero royalty environment because royalties are very much in flux right now. And we understand that we can't just rely on that as, a consistent revenue generator.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I want to hear too, do you guys have plans on like having other revenue streams that are coming in? Or I guess like, because, once again, we are in a very different position from where we were a year ago, right? So projects, we joked about it back then of like project founders could go and take mint funds and go and buy a Lamborghini, right? Now I think you can mint out and I don't think you can afford a Lamborghini still. So it's a very, very different position. So do you guys look at like, can we create additional revenue streams? Or I guess, how do you guys interpret revenue outside of, obviously, royalty sales or something, but they're not something that you can 100% guarantee. Like you said, you're operating on kind of a 0% royalty mindset. So where do you guys look at the revenue coming in for Oogie as time goes on?
I think the key differentiating factor between now and like the environment you talked about a year ago is like, we're not going to go and just pay ourselves like 75% of the bag and walk away or, think that this blissful environment is going to last forever. Like we live at like ground zero right now. And so the key is our budget is looking towards building a product that is going to be a revenue generator. And we need a year of runway to be able to get there. Now there's going to be other incentives for our community holders that, in the form of airdrops, in the form of staking, in the form of all these different things that also need to be built. So like there's short-term ideas, there's longer-term ideas, and we've just kind of like built our roadmap in the scope of 1 year to be able to execute that. And then hopefully at the end of that year, we have like I said, revenue generating products that create a more sustainable business line outside of, strictly relying on something like royalties.
There we go. Justin, is there anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'll just say that while we do have, a rough estimate of that roadmap for a year, we are very lean, agile, and we're ready to adapt, at any given moment. So that's one really advantageous part about the team that we built. We have amazing software engineers, amazing artists, amazing, finance engineers, everything like that. So anything that, we see, we don't want to necessarily adapt and follow the meta. Like, we want to be the meta. So we're not afraid to try new things and try new ideas out.
There we go. So I want to talk a little further about the roadmap. So how do you guys approach the roadmap? Like, what have you guys already told your potential holders, people who are in your Discord right now, about like what is coming? Do you guys have specific things that, hey, we've told them this is coming, or are you guys more of like, give me your overall thoughts on like how you've been, talking to your community about that?
Yeah. So a lot of the communication thus far within our community has been around like building the landscape and setting the scene for the Oogie. And a lot of that has been just going through like the artistic process, whether it's the mood boards for Oogie, whether it's how we came up with the design of the Oogie, through all of our focus groups and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a lot of the information so far has been regarding the art, and that's because that is the first product that we have delivered so far. So we've delivered 20 sneak peeks so far. The community has loved it. And yeah, that's what's on the table right now.
And I think also something that we've talked about is like, we have a focus on one-of-one artists. That's the reason why we've reached out to some of the biggest names in the space to be able to draw our one-of-one art for us, in addition to our own award-winning artists. And then we also have a community aspect to one-of-one art, which is we're going to potentially include some of our community's art if it's good enough. And they're going to get 100% of the royalty streams associated with those artworks. Like, that's something that we've communicated to our holders already. And then as far as the roadmap after that, like I talk about utility, we haven't publicly released a roadmap yet. We have a ton of ideas, but to be quite frank, something that was an idea 2 weeks ago may be irrelevant now. And we've iterated on 100 different ideas, and we may iterate 100 different more ideas before we come out with a framework that we really like. And that goes back to the fact that, we're battle tested and we are perfectionists. So we want to be able to like continue to iterate and just figure out what people need and want the most. And at the end of the day, it's just about driving the most momentum so that post-mint, there's not a cliff that falls off. It's just riding momentum and then continuing to ride that to higher and higher levels.
There we go.
And just pulling that one-of-one thread real quick. So we will have 15 of the top one-of-one artists in the space auctioning off a one-of-one Oogie prior to mint, and that Oogie will actually be part of the collection. So it's a super cool dynamic landscape where that price is being set before mint. So it's really cool to see what will happen there. And for all the one-of-ones that will be within the collection, there is going to be a special utility for holding that. So that's definitely something that people should, keep an eye out for. And in addition to that, there's like an open program to the community called Oogie Nights, where any artist can submit a one-on-one to be part of our collection. So we've already had, like 10 pieces submitted so far. And whether it's pixel art, we actually have this artist in San Diego who takes really cool drone shots, and our artist is going to draw an Oogie on top of that. So his art can be included. So we're just including a lot of various different art forms within the collection, which in my eyes, like, it adds that community aspect and that diverse feel to it. So that's really cool to see.
There we go. So I want to talk more about the art. You guys have mentioned award-winning artists. So can you guys tell me a little bit more about the artists that you guys are working with on the main collection, and I guess how the art kind of came to be for Oogie?
Yeah, so our artist is Simo. He is based out of Morocco. He was on this show called Dream Artist in Morocco, which had like 2 million views. So super successful digital artist. He's been drawing, he said, since he was like 10 years old. So we're definitely super grateful to have him on the team. He's probably one of the most talented individuals that I've ever worked with. So it's super cool working with him. And yeah, the concept of Oogie. So back in March, when myself, Andy, and Brian got together to start Oogie, we started with one concept really in mind and one idea in mind, and that was to make unique art. And this was during the time where, insert any adjective in front of any animal, and it had been done. So that was really our one main objective overall, was to create something unique. So we started going through the design process. And yeah, we start like our beginning mood boards were a lot of like Ratchet and Clank vibes, a lot of Lilo and Stitch, a lot of Jack and Daxter. So more of that like happy-go-lucky feel. And that's what we wanted, our holders to feel while, utilizing the Oogie. And like Brian was saying earlier with the utility building and, how like art gets people into the door, that is something that we've noticed just from like our studies, that PFPs are so underrated in this space. And, that is your vessel into Web3, that's digital signaling. So why would founders like not spend a ton of time in developing PFPs, a ton of time in designing PFPs so that you get emotional attachment to them? Like Marc, if you saw someone else repping your hell D-God, like how would that make you feel, right? You'd feel hurt.
Yeah.
And that feeling is something that we really tried to resonate with the traits that we design, with the Oogie overall, like with the look in it, and something that we're super proud of. We spent a ton of time curating the traits, a ton of time getting feedback through focus groups. We probably had over 100 different, surveys submitted about the Oogie art. We've gone through over 20 base character iterations. And yeah, it's something that we're super proud of, and we're so excited to share with the world.
So what are your thoughts then on like the kind of the meta currently of art changing often? Because that, to me, one of the things that I sometimes worry about with projects is there's a lot of projects that when I look at your art, I'm like, they put a lot of time into this. Like I can really tell, Simo is like a very talented artist and things like that. But I also know, even from myself, when I look at a lot of the projects that I've been holding for a long time, eventually I kind of go, I'm a little tired of it. Like I've seen it for a long time. It's, and it's almost like art in my like apartment, right? Like there's certain art that I've changed out. I've just been like, I'm kind of over it. I want something new, right? So what are your thoughts on like that kind of changing, art mentality? And is that something that you guys are going to be like something that you'll be wanting to do at some point of like, hey, we know that art can kind of get stale. Like we want to keep it fresh, or like, what are your thoughts on that? Because one of the downsides of being emotionally attached to the art, right, is that like when that art does change, are people kind of hesitant to doing that? And as like the styles change and as like the new meta comes in, because that's one of the big things that I look at is like, in the last year that I've been in the NFT space, what NFTs looked like a year ago versus what they look like now is very different, right? The quality that we expect now is way higher than it was a year ago, right? So where we're going to be a year from now is going to be very different from where we're at right now, right? So how do you guys kind of, what are the conversations like when you're talking to Simo and when you guys are just talking overall as a team about art, and what are your, kind of philosophies on like art changing over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, we've spent the past 7 months, working on this art. So we haven't had any discussions yet about, necessarily changing it. But, like I said earlier, we are a fluid team. Simo changes his perspective all the time on the art. He's wanted to add different shading here, different textures here. He's wanted to, like I said, we went through over 20 base character iterations. So I wouldn't say that's out of the picture, but right now we're just focused on making the best PFP art possible, with this first collection.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I was maybe going to add in there, like, I think Simo takes the visions that we have and adapts to them really well. So we always try and play to Simo's strengths, and like, we are just a super adaptable team. And so if we see something like for future airdrops or for future collections or whatever, like we have no problem adapting, or like Justin said, we don't want to follow the meta. We want to be the meta. So we're a project of first. Like we want to be the first to come out with maybe some crazy idea, and like, we're not going to get everything right. We're not going to be perfect. And we're always going to listen to our community. We're always going to listen to feedback. But at the end of the day, like if we want to go out and create something wonky or crazy or like out of this world that we feel like we could garner a lot of attention, we're not going to be afraid to just go out and take risks. Like that's the essence of Web3, is like exploring this entirely new landscape of things and going out, taking risks. And, who knows, potentially you make a bag from it, and potentially, people get angry at you. But at the end of the day, we're not going to shy away from trying to create dope shit.
Yeah, I almost look at it kind of like Fortnite, where have you guys played Fortnite before?
Yeah.
So a lot of the like characters on Fortnite, like they will come out with like that same character 6 months from now, but with like a different outfit that he's got on or whatever, right? Or she's got on or whatnot. So to me, I kind of look at art as like the Oogie in itself could develop over time. It could change over time. Almost like when you look at like Pokemon have changed over time, right? Like what Charizard looked like at the beginning is not exactly the same as Charizard has looked in some of the kind of advanced evolutions and things like that. Or even in like fan art, right? Like there's somebody who creates like their own, what they picture when they think of Charizard, right? And then somebody else will come out with a completely different design, but it's still Charizard and it's like core, but it's got its own unique twist to it, right? And I think that's one way to keep art fresh. And so that on one hand, I'm like, when I think about art, I a lot of times I think about it in the sense of like, you fall in love with the initial design, but to me, it's like then finding another way to keep it fresh. And almost like I'm a huge Harry Potter guy. And so I've thought a lot about like at some point they're going to come out with a new version of Harry Potter, right? And that will be very weird to me because I remember what it was like when I went to the original Harry Potter, right? But to me, I also know that FX have changed over time, and like there's so much more that they could do with Harry Potter in 2023 versus like 2008 when most of the movies were coming out, right? So I almost look at it as the same with like PFP art and things like that. It's like what you guys are looking at right now, and even what your artist loves right now, because my background's in photography, and something that I like right now is going to be different from what I like a year from now, right? Same thing of like my podcast setup. We were sitting over there 2 months ago. Now we're sitting on the couch, right? So things change over time. And so I look at art very much as like an evolving process, and like really, I would almost say to your artists, like after you guys are done, projects minted out, whatever, I would just say to them, I'd be like, dude, get creative, like start like obviously they've already been creative, but like feel free to go, like let your mind go and even get even more like when you think of an Oogie, what else could it be? And then maybe that starts to like jumpstart some ideas for you guys and where you could potentially take it and things like that. But I'm just a big fan of like the evolution of things, and I think that's how you keep it fresh. Once again, taking the Harry Potter example, I think that's something that they could do is like in 2025 have a new Harry Potter, and then there's new FX with it, and so everything looks even crazier, and whatever. You're still gonna love the original, but you're gonna respect the kind of the evolution of it at the same time. So totally. Art is there's no like correct answer to any of this, and I think that's kind of the fun part of like us being in NFTs is like somebody could listen to this and be like, I think Marc's idea sucks, stick with the original, go with that, right? Somebody else could be like, scrap it every 3 months and have new art, right? Now that's really aggressive and hard to do, but it's like that's that thing with art. There is no correct answer, but it's always kind of fun to think about like how can we keep it fresh for people, keep it exciting, because we go back to like when you were in D Gods. Were you in there before Dead Gods came out?
Yeah, I was in there a year ago.
So how the excitement of when you went to go like reveal your dead god, right? And you like wanted to see what your guy looked like. It was still your same, D god. It was just now it was the dead version of it, and it was the excitement of seeing what that new version was going to look like, right? So that's kind of how I approach art of like, man, I kind of want to see my dude evolve and stuff like that. Same thing with like, going back to the Pokemon example. Same thing of when, it starts off as what? Charmander, am I right? Charmander goes to something, which goes to Charizard. What's the middle one? Oh, we're gonna get roasted for this. Oh man, does anybody know? Oh man, we suck. Regardless, it evolves, right? And so that's the big. Can you look that up,
Andy?
Is it
Chameleon? Chameleon?
Oh, I think you might be. Oh, I think you know what? I think it's Chameleon goes to Charmander, which goes to Charizard.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get.
I might have just saved us, but or maybe I'm completely wrong.
Andy,
that might be a different one.
Yeah, Andy, you're gonna have to give us the evolution to Charizard. But yeah, that to me is like one of the fun things about art is seeing it evolve over time, and I think it's another way to keep things fresh and stuff like that. And I always kind of feel like the biggest thing is like having these conversations are important because a lot of it is I think projects wait until like, oh, well, things are kind of boring with us now, so now we're going to think about the conversation of, like, spicing it up. But to me, I'm like, man, the moment you're done with Mint, like, now that art's complete. Now it's about thinking about what's that next thing that we can get people excited about and things like that. And if you're constantly keeping it fresh, you're not only keeping it fun for your holders, but you're keeping it fun for yourself to let your creativity go. Let SEMO get really creative with things and what they come up with and stuff like that. Andy, do we have an answer yet? Are we right? Charmeleon goes to Charmander, who goes to Charizard. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, so we're going to have Andy come back in, right? And Justin, you're going to switch out. There we go. Andy, did you miss us?
We're back, baby. It's good to be back.
Good to be back. It's good to be back. So here, you're gonna be just like that. That way you can.
Like
Middle
lean
spot's a little different.
I would lean a little bit over
You could
that.
like lean a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
Cool.
try and face yourself that way, maybe.
Cool.
There we go. So, okay, so next we're going to get into, I'm always curious why people, when they're coming up with their project, why does the ecosystem need Oogie, right? So we have a lot of projects that are constantly coming out, and to me, that's one of the leading questions I always have is like, why do we need you, right? So I don't know who wants to start off with that. Andy, you have an answer to the question in a minute. So why do you feel like the ecosystem needs Oogie?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer is obviously with Utes leaving for Polygon and DGOD's leaving for Ethereum. There's a big gap. There's a big vacancy that's going to be left in this space, in Solana specifically. We're obviously all Solana degens. A big believer in the future of Solana. It's still very early, I think, for a number of reasons. Obviously, the transaction costs, the speed of transactions. Solana is the future. So I think Oogies are obviously going to come in, fill that gap, but also just help bring kind of new energy to the space. I think there's a ton of projects, don't get me wrong, that will help fill that gap. You think Teo, you think ABCs, you think Photo Finish is a favorite of mine, Aurora. But again, we're just going to kind of join those projects. We're already working with them hand in hand, going to do some spaces. But again, there's a lot of really cool innovators that we plan to work with and help again, just lift Solana up. We think it is going to be the NFT platform of the future. I think obviously Ethereum and Polygon will obviously do well. There's also other chains. But again, I just think there's a big gap. There's a big void there right now. And especially around the PFP side of things, again, scroll through your Twitter today, you're going to see a lot of Utes and DGODs. And I think people are going to be looking for a new PFP, obviously, to fill that. So that's what we hope to do, or we plan to do. So yeah, that's kind of the focus of Oogie there.
There we go.
Yeah, and I'll add, I think, DGODs and Utes are doing what's best for them, and that leaves a lot of liquidity in the Solana space, particularly. For us, we view it as like it can never hurt to have another really strong, legitimate project join the band of other legitimate projects out there. And like you said, we own a lot of the most legitimate projects out there. And for us, we want to be a part of that growth. And we're still so early that, there could be 3 million people that are onboarded in the next 5 years. And that means that all of us are going to rising tides lift all boats, right? So we're going to all be successful, and we just want to be a part of that success and be a major contributor to the whole Solana ecosystem, to the entire crypto ecosystem. You have all this bad news out there, whether it's FTX, Three Arrows Capital, Voyager going down, blah, 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 whatever. And we want to be a reason and a bright spot in the crypto space, not some reason why people are shitting on crypto in general.
There we go. Well, hey, I love that answer. So I want to know for you guys, what have been some of the biggest challenges in the last, you guys have been developing Oogie now for how long?
Almost a year.
About a year, yeah.
Yeah, a little under a year.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced in that time period?
Yeah, I'll take that. I think the biggest thing is, as we know, it's so early. I continue to reiterate, obviously, to our community and to the space is because we've been in it for so long now, or what feels like so long, it feels like NFTs are the regular. It feels like Solana is a normal item. But Brian and I were at a dinner last night, and everyone was asking questions about the NFT space, and even after spending an hour, 30 minutes talking them through it, it's still a complex concept. So again, going back to what are the hardest issues, it's that it's changing every single day. Obviously, in the last year, we've had the FTX collapse. Early on, there was a lot of rugs. So it's, again, just the ability to continuously innovate, continue to build, continue to adapt. A million times we've come up with the best utility for our community. But again, we're going to continue to listen to our community and make those changes. So it's, again, the hard work, you spend 24 hours working on something, and the next day you got to totally change it. So that's just complex. It can be frustrating, but it's also the best part about it. It's next week, again, what we were working on all this week is going to totally change. So it makes it exciting. It keeps us energized, but it's also can be frustrating sometimes just because you put so much effort in, then you got to change it.
100%.
And I think also to that point, one of the biggest personal challenges for me, since I've never personally been super entrepreneurial, is the fact that when you're a founder of something, one of the biggest things that I had to realize was people who are interested in your project are thinking 3 steps ahead of you. And so you have to think 100 steps ahead of them. You have to be thinking 6 months to a year down the road and like obviously not get ahead of your skis and focus on like the present, but like you have to constantly be innovating what you're doing today to set you up for success 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, however long you envision that. And so like, it's just a constant grind. And I think what's good about our team is we're just really, really scrappy and lean. And we have a great ability to just adapt to anything that's changing.
And I would, if I could add to that, a reason we have an 18-person team is we want to be able to be successful in any environment with any meta. And we've set up a team where we have expertise in every single field within NFTs. So whether it comes to the creative side with artistic, we even have creative directors who are just focused on coming up with new creative ideas that haven't been created before. We have just meta kings, guys that just are just looking at what other blockchains are doing. Obviously, Brian works day in and day out in this space. So again, because we have such a large team that has such an array of expertise, we can be successful no matter what the meta is. And again, like Brian said, we're not trying to follow the meta, we're trying to create the meta. So we're just going to continue to just push the boundaries and try new shit and see if it works.
There we go. Okay, so we got a few more questions before we get into the hot fish Oogie challenge. So last few, have you guys decided what supply and mint price you guys are going with yet, or are you guys still working on that?
Yeah, so again, not going to drop too much right now because we're very early and still the marketing process, but we're planning to do, and we will drop this roughly, we're probably going to do a 10,000 collection. The way we drop that will not be the traditional 10,000 mint, but I won't go into too much more detail there.
There we go.
A lot of fun ideas on that front.
And we love fun new ideas. That is always something. I love when somebody does something different because we're all used to the same shit. So anytime anybody's doing something different, I'm excited to see what you guys roll out with that. And then have you guys decided on a mint date, or are you guys like waiting for certain things in the market, or kind of how are you approaching the idea of coming up with a mint date?
Well, for me, I think we love the fact that we feel like we're kind of in this ground zero environment. Like right now is the perfect time to build. And anybody who really has a lot of faith in the longevity of the space is building right now. So we feel like, it's kind of a clean slate. Like the people who are here are going to be our long-term holders. They're here to stay and they've weathered the storm. As far as like a mint date actually goes, I don't think that we're actually going to release it yet. It's going to be early 2023 is kind of just what we've, loosely floated out there. So just, follow our socials, pay attention to the marketing materials we're putting out. And we're just excited for everything to come.
And I would say our team is perfectionist, as I'll continue to mention. So Justin's big quote is, we won't put anything out until it is literally perfect. So again, hoping to mint in Q1, we will say. But until everything is exactly perfect, it has less to do with the market and more to just do with the product that we're bringing to make sure our community is 100% satisfied. Again, we'll be very dependent on what we decide.
Love that. So, okay, so lastly, what I want to do is I want to ask you guys one more question. We'll bring in Justin after you guys answer, and then we will take a second, pause, get the hot fish Oogie challenge set up.
Let's go.
So last question is, why should somebody be bullish on Oogie? If they're listening to this right now, if they've been somebody who's been in Discord, if there's somebody who's going to join Discord after this, why should they be bullish on Oogie?
Andy, maybe I can start and you can add on. So I think no matter what people put out there as like marketing their project, there's really two things that when you go to click that mint button, there's two things that matter. Who are the founders and what product have they currently said that they've created, and what's their ability to execute? We feel extremely bullish on the puzzle pieces we've created right here as founders and our overall team. And then we also feel, because of our team, we feel very confident in our ability to execute, to keep driving momentum post-mint like we've already talked about. We don't want any lull. We want to constantly be innovating. We want to be a team of firsts. And so for me, like that is like the essence of why you're bullish. Like, why did people go out and like love Utes? It's because they were bullish on Frank and they knew he had ability to execute, and the entire DGOTS team for that matter. So that's what we're really focused on. And that's why we feel like people should be bullish on us, aside from, hopefully connecting with the art on a deeper level.
Yeah. And I would also say we're obsessed. We are working 24/7 on the Oogie project, and we are in spaces or in our Discord, which if you go check out our Discord, or on Twitter, or just building literally 24/7. And I think there are very few projects that spend a year before they even mint. And again, it goes back to the whole perfectionist side of things, but just because we love what we do, like we are literally obsessed with this, and it's not something where we're going to go mint and then, go off into space and go do our own thing. We're going to be here for the long haul, and we understand it is incredibly early, and we want to be part of the organization that creates and makes Solana NFTs mainstream.
And maybe I can just add one more anecdotal story that I love, which is there's an old Spanish conquistador named Hernan Cortez. And if anybody's familiar with who that is, he used to go into battle to conquer new territory. And what he would do is he would, get his entire army off the ships, enter this new territory, and then he would burn every single ship that he had. And the mindset that he had was, we're all in on this. We're all in on conquering this territory. We've burned the ships, and there's no turning back. I quit my job, and now I work in Web3 full time. Justin quit his job and is all in on Oogie. We've created puzzle pieces here. We're fully doxed 3 founders to ever come on your podcast. So we've burned the ships. We are all in on this. And, I get the chills just sitting here saying that because we're all in on this project. We've burned the ships and we're just ready to take off.
We're about to burn our fucking stomachs in a bit. Okay, so here's what I want to do. So I'm going to have, I'll have Brian step out for a second. Justin will jump in, and we'll have him answer that question too, and then we'll get going from there.
All right, let's do it.
For the fun part, if I call it fun. There we go. Does it feel good to be back, Justin?
Yeah, I like this corner seat a lot
Yeah, I was
better.
going to say it's better than corner is.
My neck was cranked.
There we go. Justin, swing that mic a little bit closer to you. And then, yeah, Justin, same question to you. Why should people be bullish on Oogie?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to our team. And the very first team meeting we had, presented this quote on the first slide by Steve Jobs. And it was, we hire smart people not to tell them what to do, but for them to tell us what to do. And to me, that means we are surrounding ourselves by the smartest people in this space, and we are creating this culture of innovation, of creativity, of just open source knowledge. And we've had mods that have helped design our website because we realized that they were talented in user design and user experience. We've had mods whose girlfriends have helped with our art. Patty is now one of our concept artists, and she has a full career on exchange art now. So just this top-down mentality and culture that we've created with what we're building in our mindset and our ability to adapt, I think is super bullish, and our team is phenomenal.
There we go. Well, hey, okay. Now we're gonna set this up for a second. So we'll pause for a minute here. But we're gonna set up the Hot Fish Oogie Challenge. So once again, I'm gonna be asking you guys a few questions. While we're doing that, we are gonna be eating Swedish fish that have some of the hottest hot sauces in the world on them. We're gonna give our true reaction. If we think they are scalding hot, we're gonna react like they're scalding hot. If we think for whatever reason that there's some weak shit, we're gonna act like there's some weak shit. So you guys are gonna see our true and honest reactions. I've told you guys I don't handle spice well. I have no idea. I might start profusely sweating. I don't know. So this is gonna be the most interesting aspect of the podcast, of any podcast I've ever done. So pause here, and we'll be back in a minute. All right. So we're starting off with the classic hot sauce, garlic Fresno. It's vegan. Look at us being healthy. Just the right spice, they say.
Not super spicy.
Probably full of shit. Can somebody hand me a high C? I'm going to throw it over here. High C, we have we're good. See, we got a bunch of high C's because we were told that it's good for the, something with the acidity. It's probably bullshit, but, it is what it is. Yeah, so, all right. So what we're going to do here, we're going to dip. Are we just dabbing it? Are we just dabbing it?
Yeah, we just dab it.
Okay, Justin, you're gonna have to do that because you're in a kind of a prime position to dab.
Mark, can we talk about why we did goldfish and not wings?
Swedish fish, you mean?
Swedish.
It's because you guys are so sweet and spicy at the same time. Because A, dare to be different, and B, because we were gonna do Haribo gummy bears. Oh my God, that's a fuck ton. Okay, it's a classic. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll pass the plate. That way we're not. Oh my good God! You guys are trying to die.
All right.
Oh my good God!
All right.
Okay, so once again, anybody gets this hot sauce on the couch, I FUD your project to death. But okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna each cheers. So grab one. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers. Okay.
To the hot fish.
Hot fish challenge. That is so nasty.
It's not.
I kind of like it.
It's not even hot. It's just disgusting.
It's nasty.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't hate that. That's not.
I didn't hate it.
That I would say that was pretty calm of a hot sauce. I wouldn't say that was anything too crazy. But all right, now I still got a question for you guys. So, where did the idea of Oogie? Wait, we've already asked that question. How do you guys plan on developing the community within Oogie?
So I think for us, like we talked about a little bit earlier, the community has to be organic. And what we really want is we want a core set of values that we have as a team, as founders, and we want that to permeate through the community. But at the end of the day, we want our community to form their own identity. We want for them to have feedback to us and tell us what they want and you know where they see the project going. So for us, like it's a very organic, natural process. And we ourselves are part of the community. Like we're in the Discord every day. We're interacting with our community members and that's extremely important as a founder. So we want it to be organic. But at the end of the day, we have some core values that we want, to trickle down through.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Brian. I think it's really key as a founder of any company. It's really important to have like a test user group, and that's really what your community is. They're providing you the continuous feedback loop, so you continually iterate and build a stronger foundation, a stronger project with all the products that we come out with, or all the airdrops, or whatever we're building for our community. And I think it's important that we build the foundation and continue to listen and build what they ask, but the community has to be totally organic. And I think that's really important. And I think we're already seeing that across our community that we've built to date. If you jump in our Discord, you could see all the activity, the feedback we're getting. It's kind of just like an organic approach. And we have people from all over the world, all different backgrounds, which I think is extremely important.
There we go. All right. So we got the number two. So what are we working with here? We're working with, we're going to have to take an individual photo of each hot sauce, and we'll put it up there as we're announcing each one. But this next one is Los Calientes. It's not really giving me much outside of that. It's just, it's Los Calientes. It's got some chilies in there. It's got a little apple cider vinegar. We got some tomatillo. We got some applewood smoked green serrano, some orange habanero. Sounds hot. Sounds hot. Justin, would you like to do the honors?
None of those heavy pours.
Yeah, relax here. Relax. There we go. By the end of it, the whole plate's going to have a mixture of like each different hot sauce. It's going to be a toxic death mix.
Yeah, I think if we mint that one of one ute, we may just have to rub it
we haven't even told people we're doing that yet.
We haven't.
So earmuffs, you guys didn't hear that. All right, so next up, we're eating this one. So
Los Calientes.
All right, so you guys cheers each other. We'll cheers each other, and let's go for it, boys. Oh, I like that.
Little kick.
Hit you a little after.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Not bad.
I mean, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit more of an after kick than.
Mm-hmm. It's permeating through my tongue.
Yeah, it's definitely much hotter than the first one for sure. It is, but it's good. Like I think I would buy that. Yeah. That's very good.
I think I weirdly liked the combo.
Yeah. Loki, it's not
that against
it's not
it.
as bad as you would think. Like,
No.
I was expecting far worse. I don't think this is going to ruin Swedish Fish for me.
No, absolutely not.
If anything, I might be like, you know what? Swedish Fish should come out with like a, habanero chili version. I don't know. I could get down with it. That was a nice mix right there.
Yeah.
So, maybe we're onto something. We're innovating, right? So, okay, so I know what the first question was, and I messed up when I typed it in. Where did the name Oogie come from? That was the real question.
Yeah, so we spent, honestly, a week just brainstorming names within Canva, coming up with over, 10 slides worth of names, and it really just hit us when we first got to see that first base character. And Oogie just kind of came out of thin air. Our creative director, Kyle, came up with it. And once you see the art, like it just fit with the vibe of the Oogie.
Weirdly enough, I actually looked it up afterwards, and from a marketing perspective, apparently double O's, like humans just love double O's. So like, I don't know, kind of worked out. Like throw some double O's in there and see what happens.
And we've seen that with Utes. So, all right, so we're going to get into the third one here. What are we working with? We're working with Steve-O's hot sauce for your butthole. That's not right. Ingredients, Steve-O's asshole. No, just kidding. It is habanero and something I can't pronounce, chili peppers, carrot. Oh, that's kind of nice. And some garlic, lime, and some other things in there. So, all right, let's try that out. Be gentle now, Justin. It even comes out slower. Ooh, it looks hotter. That looks hotter.
Oh man, you could see the seeds.
Yeah. The seeds are what make it hot, right? Am I right on that? I've heard that a few
Yep.
times. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, let's be careful on that one, Justin. Just
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
that is
lit.
sick.
All right, boys, be careful with this one. This one's a slippery one. Okay.
All
All right.
cheers, fellas.
Cheers each other.
Cheers.
Boom. Let's go for it. Oh, that's hotter. Oh, that's in my throat. Oh, yeah. That hits a lot harder. How we doing?
The
Brian?
Swedish fish does not make it any better. If you think it does, it does not.
Oh, my eyes are watering.
Mark is sweating for the
Yeah.
record.
Oh, my eyes are watering. That got me.
Touch my eyes. Shit.
Oh no,
That's
Oh,
not
no.
what you want.
No. Ooh, that one hits. That is hotter than I like, for sure.
It's not slowing down, honestly.
No. Okay. All right.
Milk me up.
Whew. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about D guys and Utes. What other projects do you guys currently hold, and why are you bullish on those projects?
I can start us off. My favorite right now, I think, is a bit slept on, is probably Photo Finish. Sorry. Sweat's starting to come out. I think what they're building, and Mark, I was telling you about this today, I think their team is the most qualified team from a building utility perspective. And I think what we've seen, it's starting to really kick in now. I think what we've seen even from their beta of their game is incredible. And what's most impressive, which I've pitched to Brian a few times, is their tokenomics. I think they've really figured out something unique, and I think creating real value that only Web3 can bring with tokenomics is really unique. A lot of times we just replicate Web2 type stuff. I think Photo Finish and Ian Cummings and his team have really figured that out. So I'm excited for that app to go live.
Justin, do you want to?
Yeah. So actually, I am super bullish on one-on-one art. I think that art, kind of holds its value through bull or bear cycle. So I've been collecting a lot of one-of-one art pieces, specifically Jake Whiskey, No Key, Scuba, and obviously Scum has some amazing art out there.
Yeah, and then I think for me, I think something that I don't know if we touched on in the podcast at all, but I started my crypto journey really focused on DeFi and more on the ETH side of things. So a lot of the projects I own are ETH, and I think something that we benefit with my job in Web3 is I see the full spectrum of projects that are out there. And what I can say is Solana and Ethereum have some amazing builders, and especially some of the ones that are up there top. I've had personal interactions with some of the people from Solana Monkey Business and what they're building at Monk DAO. So just love to have people who are constantly innovating, and there's a lot of great projects that are definitely top tier right now.
There we go, man. It feels like I got tears in my eyes coming. It feels like my nostrils are flaring out a little bit more than they were before. Okay. And so the last one is the one I remember this from the show. I've seen this, Da Bomb. This is one that has always sounded like hell. And when you smell it, man, it is nasty. It is wrong. It should be illegal. And so ingredients wise, we got habanero peppers, chipotle puree. I mean, that's really that they make it sound like it's crazy, but it really, I mean, I smelled it earlier, and the smell alone is just wrong. It's just not, it's not great. So I'm not looking forward to this one, but I feel like we've all done pretty well for the first three. That last one was definitely a step up. This one seems like there's actually the shipping label or whatever, the barcode is over the Scoville units. I wanted to see if there's a number in front of there because I'm pretty sure there is.
35,000.
No, but I think there's a number in front of the 3.5.
Probably a 1.
Yeah, I can't see it, but we'll put the Scoville units on the screen right now so people can see this. But this is hot as shit. So, they actually have a warning on here. This sauce is extremely hot. Keep out of the reach of children. Consume 1 drop at a time with extreme caution. So, Justin,
one drop
with extreme caution. Yeah. Oh, man.
This is going to ruin the drive home.
It smells like gunpowder.
Okay. That's fair. All right.
Oh,
good God.
There goes Brian.
Wow. Do that to the financial guy. Rude.
You're driving home, though, bud.
Oh, you, of course. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Thanks.
Are you getting wiped out? Wipe some on.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's really hot.
Nice.
All right. Cheers it up, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
I mean, it hits you immediately.
Oh, man. Oh, good God.
Holy shit.
Oh. Sweet Jesus. Oh, my God. Oh, it's in the back of my throat.
I feel it. I feel it in my eyes.
I feel like I have fire coming out of my mouth. Oh, man. I thought you were about to puke.
It gave me the hiccups.
Oh, man. Oh, I got to try the high C.
It just doesn't stop.
Oh, no. Okay. We have a last question. In a perfect world, where would you like to see Oogie a year from now? Oh, good God.
I think, oh my God, so many money. Oh. All right. I think in a year from now, we definitely, all right. 1 year from now, we want to look back on this podcast and say, we're extremely proud of our accomplishments. Number one, that we created art that people can empathize with. Number two, that we curated a community that people care about a lot. That could be seen as, a top tier community across over all of the blockchains. And we'd be fooling ourselves if we didn't say that we wanted to be considered, amongst the top projects that are out there. I think that's everyone's aspirations. We want to see everyone succeed. But we want to consider ourselves in one of those elite categories. And I need some milk now, so I'm going to hand it off to one of my other team members.
This high C isn't doing shit. Oh, God. Justin.
My tongue's on fire.
Justin, where would you like to see Oogie a year from now? I feel like my tears are hot. Oh.
Yeah, everything Brian said was super accurate. I think we definitely want to just be risk takers, right? We want to be the meta. We want to explore, different methods of utility that other projects haven't done before. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to experiment.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I'll try to build off that. I can't feel my tongue, so it feels a little weird talking. But what I would love to be looked at a year from now is a team that isn't crying, as a team that made mistakes, but continued to listen to their community and Solana and focus on the future of Solana. I'm like crying as I tell this story. It's like I'm emotional, yeah. But like having made a true impact on the future of Solana and really helped Solana bring people that have never been in this space in through solid products that I gotta stutter, but through products that we deliver that aren't only for Web3, but for Web2 folks. So really just, being able to look back and say we made mistakes, but at the end of the day, we delivered and we continued to listen to our community and do what was best for them.
And I think something we're emphasizing is a team of first. Like Andy said, we're willing to take risks. We're willing to put ourselves out there and be a team of first for things that people haven't seen yet in the space. So yeah, we're ready, and we can't wait to look back on this in a year.
Just like this hot fish challenge.
This is awful. I hate you guys. I hope you go to zero. No, I hate whoever came up with this idea originally. My talk. Every time I talk, I feel like it gets worse. Okay, we got to fight through this. We got a few more minutes. Okay, so we have one last thing we're doing. We are going to reveal a tube live on the podcast after consuming the bomb hot sauce, and if we get a crown or a noun or holy fuck or a one of one. There's one left. Then we're gonna do another bomb. And so, do we have it screen recorded? We need to screen record this so we can put it live for everybody to watch. Oh man, my high C didn't do a fucking thing. My nose is running.
I think the screen recording's going.
Okay. If not, kind of face it towards the camera just in case.
Okay.
But we'll all watch. Okay.
So we got one. We're gonna min away.
Come on.
This is a one-on-one. I'm gonna absolutely lose my marbles. Got to put in my password.
Do you want to just tell everyone that too?
Yeah, might as well give that out while we're
Full
here.
transparency.
Prove this transaction. He gets rugged.
Approved. This is a one-on-one. I'm just gonna throw my computer just so everyone knows. What's the deal here if it's below?
Noun.
Okay. We miss out on an ultra rare. We got a nice mullet. Very clean.
Nice
Very
mullet.
clean.
That is clean.
Yeah.
That is very clean. Man.
Does that mean we got to do it again?
You know what? I think for the culture, fuck it, we got to do another round. So you know what? I'll go grab it. I'm the easiest one to get out of here. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So here's the update. We brought over the bag of Swedish. Oh my! It's still so hot every time you talk.
Whoa, we only need two.
Chaser.
You know what I think we got to do too, Justin? Roll them in the hot sauce. Roll them in the others.
Just go full on.
Oh God.
What are we doing?
Wait, I'm gonna take a video of what Justin's doing so everybody can see. Justin, roll those in there. Okay.
It's just a mix.
All right, now add the bomb. One drop. Don't kill us. One drop.
Yeah.
Do I even have another question after this? No, I don't.
And then a little Steve-O sauce.
Wait,
on top.
the third one, kind of that, which is actually yours, doesn't seem to have a drop on it.
Yeah. Just put another. There's nothing on that.
Yeah, that third one is weak sauce. What is that?
There's a drop on there.
It's a little weak. I know that's yours. I know you want a little extra. All right.
Oh
my God.
yeah.
That's what you get for not dabbing it enough to begin with. All right.
No, then a little.
Oh, we're
Steve-O.
adding a little
We
drop.
gotta do all of them.
Oh my good God. This is the one that'll kill us.
This is just D-Jam shit.
We said we'd push boundaries.
We're gonna chat for a minute.
A team of
Wait,
first.
you gotta add the other two?
Oh,
I mean, we gotta go full.
A team of first.
this is the Shaquille O'Neal challenge. To be clear,
Oh,
this is
good
what
God.
Shaq does.
Oh my God.
Just-
Well,
might
that
as well
one tastes
just
good. That one
soak
tastes
it
good.
in.
I'm not mad at that. Yeah.
And the first one is.
All right, what
already
we're
on the
gonna do, by
bottom.
the way. Wait, and the last one. What do we
It's on
not?
the bottom.
You're skipping out the bottom. Okay.
It's on the bottom.
All right.
That's the
But what
base.
we're gonna do is we're gonna pass the plate because otherwise that's gonna leak all over. Okay.
So I got to go first.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, boys. Best of luck.
And then you got to pass the plate. So get that plate underneath you there, Justin. Oh, Justin. Oh, no. I'm already worried. Oh, man.
my
I mean,
God.
that is sick. That is sick.
Let's get that.
Let me get a nice close-up. Oh, my God.
That was just disgusting.
I didn't really.
I canceled it
I
out
think my
kind of.
mouth. I think my mouth might be numb.
Oh,
I can't even really taste anything.
I just hit you like 10 seconds later. It's just so bad.
Okay. Bottoms up. Wait, I
need a chaser fish here. I'm out of milk. Oh. Man, the back of the throat.
Oh, I mean, it just, it's when you talk. It's when you talk. Oh, and I got Swedish fish stuck in the back of my throat.
You're getting punished for breathing.
Yeah.
You can't breathe out.
Can you pass me a Swedish fish? Yeah, there's a Swedish. Thank you, sir. Oh, man.
I do think Swedish fish needs to come out with the sweet and spicy Swedish fish.
Honestly, the first
I'm a big fan. Big fan.
The first two were really not terrible. Like, not bad, not nearly as bad as I thought.
No.
I think Chipotle Swedish could be the next meta.
That could be a thing.
Yeah.
Saw it here first. I'd like to copyright that.
Hot fish.
Hot fish challenge.
Hot fish Oogie challenge. Oh, man. That was... Boys, this has been a fun episode. You know, the worst part is knowing this, right? Here's the worst part. The worst part is knowing that at some point you guys will come back on the podcast and we'll have to one-up ourselves. And I hate that. I hate that thought already. So I'm actually hoping you guys go to 0 so that I never have to do this again. Because, my tongue, I feel like my tongue is swelling. Every time I talk, it feels like it gets hotter. But boys, this has been great. Can you guys plug your socials? Where can people find you? We'll wrap this up in a minute, but yeah, plug your socials. Where can people find you?
Yeah, definitely make sure to follow our NFT account at Oogie NFT. For me, you can follow me at bcamp_NFT. You'll definitely see our PFPs or Oogies. We're rocking them. We're out there. We're in spaces. Don't be shy to reach out in our DMs and reach out with ideas and questions. We're an open book, fully transparent, and ready to take on the world.
At Justarino on Twitter. Definitely make sure to join our Discord. We have a ton of cool stuff in there, including a ton of sneak peeks coming out soon.
Yeah, and finally, Andy_Oogie. And I want to challenge everyone who's going to have the craziest hot fish out there on Twitter.
Oh, man, I went to go talk again. It wasn't bad for a second. Then I go to talk again. It hurts. Is it bad for you guys when you talk?
Yeah.
It hurts when you breathe out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, boys. I love you. This has been fun. Hot Fish Oogie Challenge. Oogie, I'm excited for you guys to mint, but I want to stop talking. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you guys.
Thanks, Marky.
Peace.